All right, page 19 in your supplements have your homework out from last night. And yesterday we began talking about a plan to spend money. I just texted you 2 lessons ago. We began looking at a plan to spend money wisely. Put down, Joel. And what is this plan to spend money wisely called, Luciana? A budget. And we said that the budget generally should be based not on what we earn, but on what we take home. Class, what we earn, again, is called our?
Income.
Well, yeah, in general income, but before deductions, we call it the gross pay. Don't base the budget off the gross pay. Why would you do that? You don't have that money. Keep your feet down. However, we want to base it, class, off what we do take home called our net pay. There's another name for the net pay as it pertains to the budget. What's that other term for the money that we're able to spend? It is at our, well, I don't want to use the word. Michael? He had his hand up a second ago and put it down. Griffin?
Disposable income.
Disposable income. Class, what's it called?
Disposable income.
Because it's income at our disposal that we are able to spend as we see fit. And we can spend what we feel we ought to on things like housing and cars, and utilities kind of is what it is, right? Like your power bill is going to be what it is. You can take measures to lower the power bill, like, line drying clothes. Anyone have a clothesline at your house where you have the line out there, you just hang stuff on the clothesline to dry it? Hey, that saves electricity. Any of you keep your house in the winter maybe under 68 degrees? Your house in the wintertime is below 60. Ours is. We keep it around 66, 67. Anyone in the summertime, you crank your heat up, your air conditioning, you set it like 80. Anyone set the air conditioning around 80 at your house? I usually have it about 76. I tried 77. It didn't work. I was too miserable. We have friends of ours, though. They keep it at 80 to try to save the power bill. So, there are some things you can do to try to take it easy on the power bill. But for the most part, you're going to use electricity, right? The water bill, going without showers is not an option. Okay, we've got to take a shower every day. Not washing clothes, that's not an option. The clothes have got to be washed. Maybe you say washing dishes in the sink versus washing dishes by dishwasher. Could maybe save on the water bill a little bit, also save on the power bill a little bit. But still, some of these things are going to be what they are. But we can choose to buy cheaper food. We could even, if we had to, and some people, a lot of people around the world, this is what they're faced with, have to choose to have less food because they can't afford it. Right, so there are things we can adjust in the budget. There are things we don't adjust in the budget. There are a couple of things, though, that we want to make sure of as Christians we take care of, and that is obviously giving back to God. What is a tithe, class?
10% of your
10% of your income. I would argue 10% of your gross income, but 10% of that income. And then, of course, you may want to give a little bit more to missions, going into missions conference starting tonight. And that's going to be one of the points of emphasis at the missions conference for the church members is ask God to lay on your heart what He'd have you to give to missions by faith that He's going to provide for that. So there are things like that we would give toward. Also, really good idea, biblical practice, putting money into savings, saving for later, whether that's a retirement account, whether there's just putting money into a savings account in case something breaks. I was wishing I had a little bit more in savings a few months ago when my transmission went out. And I had to get the transmission replaced. And I didn't have about $5,000. So there it goes on the credit card. Remember interest? Oh yeah, $80 a month because I couldn't afford to pay cash for it. I'll get it paid off soon. But anyway, yeah, so again, having money set aside for savings is important because it allows you to be a better steward if you have the wherewithal to do that. How much do experts say you ought to save every month? Jalen?
5%.
Recommend 5% at least. If you can save more, great, but at least 5% put in savings. So that's what we've been working on yesterday. We worked on kind of tracking the budget, following where we're at in the budget. We'll work on that a little bit more today as well. But for now, let's look at the homework. Top section, signed numbers. We want to make sure we're really good with signed numbers going into the back half of the year, going into the fourth quarter, and certainly next year in pre-algebra. Top row, number 1, what'd you get, Bryson?
-7.
Ooh, careful. We're right that we subtract and keep the negative, but 11 minus 3 is 8. Negative 8. Tell you what, for redemption, number 2, right below it, what did you get, Bryson?
2.
Positive 2 is correct. Number 3 below that, Corey.
-16.
-16. Excellent. Number 4, top of the next column, what you got, Griffin?
7.
Keep the sign of the greater.
Negative 7.
I actually do. I can see right there. You do have a negative on there. -7 is correct. Number 5, Michael.
8. 18. Oh, negative 18.
Number 5? Jalen?
Negative 28.
Negative 28. The signs are the same, right? They're both negative, so we would add and keep the sign negative 28. Even if you thought they were different signs and subtracted, it'd be negative 12. But anyway, negative 28 should have been our answer. Let's come back to Michael for redemption. Number 6. What'd you get?
Positive 14.
Positive 14. There you have redeemed yourself. Number 7, top of the next column, Elaine.
2.
Positive 2. Number 8, Joel.
Negative 3.
Negative 3. And number 9, what you got there, Ben?
36. I'm at 39.
Not 36 or 39, but it's close to that. Bryson?
33.
It should have been 33. 33, our answer there. Again, we're going to add the inverse, and then we've got same signs, add and keep the sign. Number 10, what operation is implied by the word product? Let's come back to Ben.
Multiplication.
Multiplication, very good. Number 11, which of those is called a constant term? Which of those is a constant term? Luciana, I know you didn't do it because you weren't here the last couple of days. Good to have you back. Which one of those is a constant term?
I'm going to guess 21.
21, because it's the only thing that doesn't have a letter. What's the letter called?
Variable.
Variable. Good. It's the only thing that doesn't have a variable in it. Number 12, what kind of expression is that, Corey? Binomial. Number 13, what operation is the same as adding the inverse, class? Subtraction. You better not miss that one. Number 14, what property says that the order of factors or addends may be switched without changing the value of the product? Or sum, I guess technically, since it said factors or addends, should be product or sum. Which property is that? Michael?
Commutative.
Commutative property, very good. Number 15, what's another way to write 4 times the quantity, 2 plus 5, using the distributive property? Jalen?
4 times 2 plus 4 times 5.
Good, 4 times 2 plus 4 times 5. Or if you said, well, 8 plus 20, I would take that as well. But 4 times 2 plus 4 times 5 is what I was looking for. Number 16, ooh, how do we represent 3 less than x? You may have had to go back to your math book and look this up. What did you have, Griffin?
3 minus x.
Oh, he fell into the trap. Now, you knew less than means subtract. Good job there. But I told you something about the word than, class.
Flip it.
Flip it. So not 3 minus x, Griffin, but
X minus 3.
x minus 3 is that little picky detail, that than meaning flip it around. All right, so number 17 then, Elaine, how would we represent 4 more than twice k?
K2 plus 4.
All right, so you said k2 meaning k times 2 plus 4, correct?
Yes.
So you knew that more than meant add, and you knew that we had to flip it and put the 4 after.
Yeah.
Twice k does mean k times 2, but what's the proper order when we multiply a variable times a constant? Number first.
Yeah.
So not k2, but
4.
2k.
Oh.
2k plus 4, right? So we wouldn't say C3 unless we were talking about a droid. We wouldn't say C3, we'd say 3C. Does that make sense? So always put the number before the letter, but you weren't wrong necessarily. Sorry, Michael. Not a Star Wars fan, I take it. All right, number 18. How would we algebraically represent the quotient of m and 3? Let's come back to Griffin for redemption.
M over 3.
M over 3. Now you could have used the dot / dot to use m divided by 3, but we like the fraction. Good job there. Questions on that part of the homework so far? Any questions on 1 to 18 before we hit the budget box? All right, let's get to the budget. It tells us, and this is important, just above the box, there is a monthly disposable income of how much? Joel?
Say it again.
Above the box, Joel, make sure you're listening, on number 19, it tells us we have a monthly disposable income of...
2,500.
That's important. If we have $2,500 to spend, how much are we going to spend on each of these categories? And it says that tithe and missions gets 15% of that. How much money is that every month? Joel?
$375.
$375. For the rent, that's 24%. What we got, Ben?
$600.
$600. For the auto loan, 9% every month. Bryson? $225. For utilities, that's electric, TV, phone, internet, all that put together, how much there... Oh, Luciana just found it? $175. Very good. For gas, meaning probably gasoline, like to put in the car, because you know we don't got an electric car if we're paying only $225 a month. Those electric cars are expensive. So gas to put in the car, 6%. How much is that, Corey?
I didn't
$150.
$150, Tesla boy back there. All right, 8% on insurance. Jalen, $200. Recreation, 5%. Michael,
$125.
$125. Savings, 8%. Griffin,
$200.
$200. And then, everything else goes into a category called shopping. Your household needs, your food, your clothes, all of that. I didn't give you a percent. You had to figure out what that last percent was. What was it, Elaine?
I put 18.
It is 18%. Now, how would we figure out that it's 18%, Elaine?
Honestly, I just added all the percents and then subtracted it from 100.
Exactly. Add them all up. It's 82%. Subtract that from 100, you get 18%. How many found that shopping was going to be 18%? You did the math correctly. All right, so then, Elaine, if you've got 18%, what's the amount that gets spent on shopping every month?
$450.
$450 is correct. All right, anyone perfect on the homework? Anyone perfect on the box at the bottom? All right, questions at all on the homework? Let's look back across the page. Page 18. We were working through some of these practice problems. We had gotten through number 6, and remember the Franklins had a certain amount budgeted for recreation, and so we figured out how much they'd set aside, right? 5% on number 6. They're kind of talking through it for Luciana's benefit here. 5% of their $2,800 monthly disposable income came to $140. So once we knew that they had $140 set aside for recreation, we just went through and subtracted what they'd already spent that month. Well, they'd already paid $20 a month for being a member of the bowling league. They'd spent $84.60 on a really nice Valentine's date. They spent $18 going mini golfing. So then when we subtracted those things, we found that there was $17.40 left for recreation, which isn't going to go real far. So they're going to basically not do a whole lot this month. All right, does that make sense? And that's how we follow the budget, is we set aside how much we're budgeting, and then we just track our expenses as we go throughout the month. You're familiar with this from computer apps, right? Where we just kind of put in the different amounts and saw how much was left. Computer app students got a little bit of an edge on this lesson. Let's go to number 7 then, and Joel, read number 7 for us.
Mr. and Mrs. Moore have a monthly net income of $6,850. They are looking for $650. They are looking for a new house, but want to avoid spending more than 20% of their income on a house. They will find a house they like, and the projected mortgage payment will be $1,300.
Dollars.
Dollars.
Anytime we talk about money, we end it with dollars.
Is the house under budget?
All right, so this is one of the things that a couple might do is they're planning their budget, looking for a new house. They know what they make, right? And so like, okay, we don't want to spend more than this percent on housing, for instance. So they find a house and it says that they project your mortgage payment's going to be $1,300 a month. Can they afford this house? Well, what are we going to need to do here? What do you think, Joel?
Times $6,850 by 20%.
Good. Multiply $6,850 by 20%, or actually, class, multiply by 0.2, right? And how much do they have budgeted? Okay, what is the maximum amount that they're willing to spend every month on a house? Joel? Typing it in there. You got it, Ben?
Yes, sir.
Type it in quick. Quick. Hold on. Type it in. Pay attention, boy. This is how much they make. That's the percent they're willing to spend on housing. Just multiply 0.2, $6,850. All right, Joel, what you got?
$1,370.
How many found that they have budgeted up to $1,370 a month? Okay, so the question then, Joel says, is this house under budget? Can they afford it?
No. Yes.
Yes, because if they budgeted $1,370 and the house is only, I say only, is only going to cost them $1,300 a month, then yes, it's under budget, they can't afford it. They probably have a pretty good paying job to be able to afford that, but hey, more power to you. By the way, if any of you do end up getting a really good paying job, remember your math. Just kidding. All right, number 8. Go ahead and read that for us if you would, Jalen.
Mr. and Mrs. Taylor have a monthly net income of $3,900. They plan to set aside 3% of their disposable income to spend on clothing. So far this month, Mr. Taylor needed a new pair of pants, $37.60, and they spent $39 on 3 school uniform shirts for their son. Mrs. Taylor wants to buy a new pair of shoes, $65.40. Is there enough left in the budget to buy the shoes?
All right, so we're gonna have to do a few different things. First thing you have to do, class, is figure out how much they have in the budget. At your seats, find that first number. How much is actually available in the budget for clothes? Ben, what you got?
$117.
How many got $117? All right, any questions on how we got that? Anyone's like, I'm confused. All right, so we're all good. We're tracking so far. Okay, now, keep that number's on your calculator right now, right? 117. What do we have to do next? Michael?
Subtract
The
$37.60.
subtract $37.60. Because once he bought the pants, they don't have as much left in the budget anymore. So what are we down to once we subtract the $37.60, Michael? Ooh, Corey, go ahead.
71.40.
I got 79.40.
Yeah.
79.40, okay? Now, then they got to buy some school uniform shirts. How much do they spend on school uniform shirts, class?
39.
So what do we got to do now?
Subtract.
Subtract 39 from what you got. Now how much do they have in the budget, Michael?
$40.40.
Now we're down to $40.40. Okay, and now Mrs. Taylor's like, ooh, I really want a new pair of shoes. How much do the shoes cost, class?
$65.40.
$65.40. Does she have enough?
No.
What's she going to have to do? Two options.
Go over budget or don't.
She could risk going over budget and just kind of adjusting the next month, which is probably not a good idea to do that because we forget sometimes to adjust the next month. Just wait till next month. Or find a cheaper pair of shoes, right? But if she's like, no, these are the shoes I want, then wait till next month and you get them first, right? So you go ahead and make that the priority next month. But for now, let's hold off on buying it. Now, by the way, what can you do if you, let's just say they didn't buy any more clothes that whole month and there's still 40 sitting there. You could then roll that over to next month. And so instead of 117, next month they start out with 157.40, right? So you could do that as well if you're being careful and you can roll amounts over. Usually I don't like to roll amounts over because I like to keep each month under budget. That way we end with some money at the end of the year, which would be good. Because that way if you can have a little money left at the end of each month, you're like, get to the end and you're like, hey, we have money. And this Christmas shopping is always good. Anyway, but no, she does not have enough left in the budget for the shoes. All right, do we see how to track the budget? All right. Number 9, it's a long one. Who's a good reader in here? Let's see, Jalen says she's a good reader, but she just read. I'm pointing to Elaine. Is that what you're pointing to? All right, you've got confidence votes. We like to hear Elaine read. Sam, if you're watching, number 1, shoot me an email. But number 2, if you're watching, we miss you. This was for you, Sam, and you're not in here, and that's sad. We also miss Kirsten. Get better soon, Kirsten. All right, but Sam, it's been a while. We miss you. All right, number 9, read about Sam, if you would there, Elaine.
Sam is just starting out on his own and has a monthly net income of $1,750. Each month he plans to give $200 for tithe and offerings, to pay $600 for his rent, water and trash included, to pay $40 for his phone plan, to pay around $100 for the electric bill, to pay $105 for insurance, renters and auto, and to put $50 into savings. He was able to pay cash for his car, so he has no auto loan payment. He has figured out that he usually pays around $35 per fill-up and has to fill his car with gas 3 times a month. How much money would he have left for other expenses, household needs, food, clothing, recreation, etc.? Assuming 4 weeks to the month, how much can he spend each week on these other expenses?
All right, so let's worry about the 4 weeks to the month thing later. For now, let's just see how much money is left in the budget. So it starts you off with the monthly net income, and then it lists all these little expenses. Now, most of the expenses, did you notice they're just really clear cut? I just told you the number, right? There was one number I didn't come out and just tell you. Which one is hidden, class?
Gas.
The gas. I told you he spends $35 per fill-up, but I also said he usually fills his car how many times a month, class? 3 times a month. So we've got to make up that number ourselves, get what that number is. But all the other numbers are pretty clear for you. So figure out, pencil down when you've got it, how much does he have left for his household needs, his recreation, all the other stuff he's going to do. The stuff that some would argue is actually more disposable. Like these other numbers are kind of set in stone. He's got to do these other things. Some people would argue that this number is actually his true disposable income because it's not already allocated to other things. And I use the term to describe net pay, but depending on which financial person you talk to, they might argue this number is really his monthly disposable income. Didn't drop the pencil, just set it down gently so it doesn't break the lead inside. Ben, what you got?
$550.
How many had $550 left? Did anyone have $620 left? Okay, good. If you had $620, you forgot to account for the fact that there were 3 fill-ups. So you only put the 35 in once. There's three fill-ups. So should have $550 left. Now, let's say there's 4 weeks to the month, which it's roughly 4 weeks, right? How much can he spend per week on stuff? Whether it's, regardless of what it is. How much can he spend per week on stuff? Well, what do we have to do, class? Just divide by 4, and then what do we get for his weekly spending allowance?
Well, $137.50.
Very good. How many had $137.50? Now, some of you one day might find that this is a more efficient way for you to track your budget. Rather than tracking your spending over a month, it might be easier for you to say, okay, I've got all these expenses that have to be paid. I know about those. How much is left for whatever else I need or want to spend it on? And track it by the week. Okay, this week I only have $137.50. I can't go over it, so I got to be careful what I buy. Got to be careful where I eat out. Got to be careful what I do for fun, and make sure we keep track of that number. Good. It's up to you how you want to structure it. But the point is, have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're going to start spending money, and you're going to find out the money's gone. There's debt, and there's interest, and there's more interest. There's more debt. There's foolish spending, things you buy. It's like, oh, I really shouldn't have bought that. That wasn't a good investment. Things like that. Yes, ma'am.
So if you go to college and you get a loan or whatever, aren't you starting out with debt anyway?
Yeah, so she brings up a good point. If you were to take out a college loan to go to college, and a lot of people do, right? Then what you'll end up having to do is when you put your budget, you've got your tithe and offerings, you got your housing, you got your car. Well, there's going to be a portion of your budget that is payment toward the college loans. Because once you graduate college, you start paying back every month a certain amount. And the more you can pay, the less time you have to take to pay it back, the less interest you pay. But yeah, that becomes part of the budget is, okay, every month we're going to spend this much paying off college debt. And so, yes. Now, I was blessed to go to a college where the tuition was low and where I was able to work on campus, where I made most of the money I needed, where I didn't have any college debt when I graduated. But most cases, that's not the case. So shout out to Pensacola Christian College for giving a great education and also allowing me to graduate debt-free. My wife also graduated debt-free. That was also a blessing. So we started out, we really didn't have debt other than the car I bought. I did have debt on that, but it was planned debt. It was in the budget to pay off the car. The car payment's not that bad. But anyway, all right. Other questions on the budget? Any questions on the budget? Well, let's talk a little bit about car payments and loans. We know compound interest, how it works, right? Compound interest is something that's used for investments. You set money aside and you collect interest. And the interest adds on to the principal and you make more interest. And it adds on to the principal, you make more interest. And so class, every payment you get, the interest payment gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Well, the opposite of that would be if you're borrowing money and you're paying it back, like an auto loan. You borrow money to buy the car, and you start paying it back. Well, every month you pay back, are you paying attention, Michael? Every time you make a payment, you're diminishing how much you owe. So every month you're going to owe less interest. And the interest payment gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But how these payments usually work out, class, is that you'll pay the same amount every month. It's just at the beginning, let's just say, for instance, you've got a house payment of, let's say, $600. Let's say that's your mortgage, okay? Now, there's property taxes. I mentioned this the other day. Property taxes in there. Let's just throw a number. Let's say that's $70. And we've got your homeowner's insurance, which we'll talk about later. Let's just say that's $100, okay? Well, that means that $430 is actually going toward the loan on the home. Looking this way, please. You don't need to be looking at your calculators. Of the $430, when you first start out, probably it's going to be something like $230 worth of interest and $200 toward the principal. But then the next payment, it'll be like $229 toward the interest and $201 toward the principal. You'll owe less interest because you've paid down the principal, so the interest payment isn't as much, which means when you pay this flat amount, more of it goes to the principal. And the next month, it might go smaller and smaller. So little by little, even though your payment stays the same, the interest number shrinks and the principal number grows. Does that make sense? This is something called an amortized loan. You see that at the top of page 20. So let's talk a little bit about amortized loans. Go and read that first paragraph, Michael, if you would, please.
Many large purchases.
Nice and loud. Don't let the camera hear you. Your adoring YouTube fans.
Oh. Many large purchases require a consumer to make equal monthly payments, buying on time or installment buying, rather than paying the full purchase price up front. Each month, the customer is charged interest based on the current balance of the loan. Each month's payment covers the interest and a portion of the principal, purchase price, and balance. Since the principal gets smaller each month, the interest charge also gets smaller each month. This means that the equal monthly payments will pay down a greater portion of the balance each month.
All right, so first of all, you see terms like principal and interest. You know what that means? Still using some simple interest formula here, okay? But I need you to know the term installment buying. This is another name for taking out an amortized loan. And people will do this on big purchases like, for instance, when you buy a house. That's an amortized loan. When you buy a car, that's an amortized loan. Sometimes if you buy, guys, one day maybe you want to get the girl of your dreams, the ring of her dreams, but it costs more than your non-dreamy budget allows, and so you have to take out a loan to buy the ring. I don't know, whatever. Okay, maybe you make it on jewelry. Sometimes furniture can be this way as well, where you might take out an amortized loan to buy furniture. So big purchases, right? Big purchases, they amortize the loan where you'll just pay the same amount every single month. But again, the interest gets smaller each month. So even though you're paying the same amount, less interest means you're paying down the principal faster. All right, go and look at the second paragraph. Read that for us, Jalen.
Okay. Usually banks handle installment loans for houses and cars, while individual stores may offer to finance purchases for furniture or appliances. These types of loans are referred to as amortized loans, and the method of paying back the loan through equal monthly payments is called amortization.
Amortization. That was close though. I was curious. I was watching that word. I'm like, I wonder how she's going to do. Amortization.
Amortization. Monthly interest can be calculated by using the simple interest formula I equals PRT, where typically 1/12 to account for the monthly payments.
Good. So again, remember the 1/12 or the divided by 12 we did for compound interest. We're going to use that same 1/12 anytime it's monthly payments. So most amortized loans are 1/12. They're monthly. I did mention appliances. That's the other thing. I was like, I know there's something else people find. It's appliances. Your refrigerator, washer, dryer, things like that sometimes can't be bought upfront payment. You need it now, but you don't have the money, so you may amortize that. Before a loan goes into effect, this is important, put a star next to the third paragraph. The customer usually pays a portion of the purchase price up front. This is called the down payment. How many have heard that term before? A down payment. So when you buy that car, usually the company wants you to pay a certain amount up front. That way they get money today. They don't have to wait to get their money. They get some money today, a few $1,000s. And then the rest of it you'll amortize. So a down payment. Notice this. A larger down payment means a smaller principal, which leads to less interest being charged, right? Since I equals PRT, if you pay a really small down payment, that means you're financing a large portion. That's going to be a lot of interest. But if you pay a big down payment, you have a smaller portion that has to be financed, smaller monthly payments, less interest to be charged. Now, this next thing here, you're not going to be tested on this, but I want to make sure I cover this. It's important that amortized loan payments be made promptly. You've got to pay them every month on time. If you miss a payment, or if you're late on a payment by more than, I think it's 15 or 30 days, It's going to ding what's called your credit score. How many have heard about a credit score? Maybe in TV commercials or things like that. Your credit score is important. It's what lenders, when you want to buy a new car or buy a new house or buy anything really, they're going to look at your credit score and decide, are they willing to let you buy it? And if you've got a bad credit score, you're not going to get offers, right? You may need a credit card one day and they look at your credit score and they're like, nope, we're not giving it to you. Or they'll give it to you with a really high interest rate. So you want a good credit score. Credit scores reflect how reliable a person is considered to be, so that lenders know what kind of credit risk they may be taking by lending money or financing a purchase. High credit score, this is your target. You want to be above 740. 800 is great. It's really good if you can get into the 800s, but 740 is good credit score. They usually get lower interest rates and can count on being approved for loans. You don't have to go in wondering, are they going to actually approve the loan or not? People with poor credit scores, something below 580, may be denied loans, get higher interest rates. So credit scores matter. Don't miss a payment. Don't be late on payments with amortized loans one day. Now notice, banks handle the really big stuff, the houses, the cars. Usually a store can do their own financing. I don't know if you've ever seen maybe a poster or something up in Lowe's next to it. Hey, we'll finance this for you. And sometimes they'll offer to finance at 0 interest. And then at the bottom it says, with approved credit. That's the credit score, right? You got a bad credit score, yeah, you don't get the 0 interest rate. We're giving you a 10% interest rate or whatever, right? However that works. So again, have the good credit. Let's look at some practice problems here together and read the first problem for us, if you would. Luciana.
Mr. and Mrs. Dixon bought a refrigerator at the list price of $1,000 for 48 cents. They paid $300 down and agreed to make 24 monthly payments of $48.30. How much did the Dixons end up paying out?
All right, so remember I told you the monthly payments are going to be equal across the life of the amortized loan, right? How much are they paying every month, class, for this refrigerator?
$48.30.
$48.30. And how many payments do they have to make?
24.
24. Does everyone see there? You look it in the book. Okay? So, how much do they pay if they pay $48.30 24 different times? What do we have to do, class?
Multiply.
Okay, so go ahead and multiply there. And how much money are they paying over the 2 years, the 24 months that they pay off this refrigerator? Luciana?
$1,159.20.
How many got $1,159.20? But that's not how much they paid for the refrigerator. Because remember, they didn't just make the monthly payments. They also paid up a down payment, the upfront payment. So we've got to add that on as well, don't we? They paid $300 up front, and that's all they had, for instance. They're like, okay, we need a refrigerator now, right? Anyone ever had your refrigerator in your house die? Okay, that is emergency. In the day and age in which we live, that is an emergency. You must get a new refrigerator. Everything spoils, stink in the house, lost money because that's a lot of food to have to buy and replace. Like, you need the new fridge right away. You're like, we don't have $1,148, right? So they pay $300, that's what they could afford to pay, and they finance the rest. How much do they really end up paying? What's our answer to the problem now, Luciana?
$1,459.10.
All right, so everyone see that's the amount. Did everyone get that number? Any questions on how we got that number? The amount of the monthly payment, time the number of payments, and then add the down payment in as well. So how much did they pay? $1,459.20. How much should they, if they just had the money, if they didn't have to buy a fridge right away, if they've been able to save up first, Corey, how much should they have paid for the fridge? $1,148. That's what's on the stick. Well, plus tax, but $1,148. That's what they should have paid. Everyone got that? We all good with that? That's how much they should have paid. That's how much they did pay. So they paid more. They had to pay, are you listening? They had to pay a fee for the use of that money. What do we call a fee charged for the use of money, class?
Amortized loan?
Interest. Interest. What do we call a fee charged for the use of money, class? Interest. And an amortized loan, which is what they used, is going to charge interest as well. Well, if they were supposed to pay $1,148, but they ended up paying this much, how would I figure out how much interest they ended up paying? I think that's problem number 2, right? How much would the Dixons have saved if they paid for the refrigerator in full? How much interest, or notice, by the way, mark this term, would you? I don't know if it's bold. I think it's bold in your book there, finance charge. Note that term. That's the special name for interest on an amortized loan. It's still just interest, okay? They call it a finance charge, but it's just interest. How much interest is there, Jalen?
$305.20.
I got something just a little off. I wonder if you mishit a button there, Joel.
$311.20.
There we go. I got $311.20. $311.20. That was their finance charge. That's how much interest they ended up having to pay. Does that make sense? Questions on how interest can be found here. Again, you might use it if you're calculating the monthly payments out, which we'll work on more tomorrow. That'll involve simple interest formula. But here it's just how much should you pay? How much did you pay? Well, you obviously paid more. However much more you paid, that was your interest. That was your finance charge. Look at number 3. And let's see. Let's have Griffin read this one.
If you borrow $1,000 from a friend, but agree to pay back $100 a month for a year, how much interest did you have to pay?
All right, this is obviously not a super good friend, okay? But he's a friend who had $1,000, and you needed $1,000. Maybe it's Valentine's Day. Maybe Griffin finds wonderful girl. This is years from now, okay? This isn't right now. So he hasn't met this girl yet. But he meets wonderful girl. He's like, I've got to ask her to marry me. I'm broke. But I'm going to get a job, so I'm going to be able to pay off this ring eventually. I just don't have the money now. So he finds a really good friend. Maybe Ben is a really good friend. It's like, Ben, buddy, old pal. I got this girl I want to marry. I got to ask her to marry me. Do you have $1,000? And Ben's like, I'm rolling into it. Sure, I'll give you $1,000. Here's the conditions. You pay me back $100 a month for the next year. Well, $100 a month might be manageable if he's got a job, and he wants the $1,000 now to buy the ring now, right? So he borrows the $1,000 from Ben. Next month, pays him $100. Then the next month, and the next month, for a whole year. Well, how many months is that, class?
12.
So if he pays, we can do this in our head, I think, $100 a month, 12 months. How much money does he end up paying Ben, class?
$1,200.
$1,200. That's how much Ben gets back. How much did Griffin get in the first place? $1,000. So Ben is making money here, right? How much money does Ben make, class?
$1,200.
How much money does Ben make?
$200.
He makes $200. The $1,000, the first $1,000 he gets back is just paying him back. But the next $200 is the interest, also called the finance charge. Now again, this isn't quite the same thing as an amortized loan, but it's a similar idea, right? Where you're paying back equal monthly payments. Note to self, get really good friends who won't charge you interest and just say, yeah, pay back the $1,000 when you can. Griffin's like, Bryson, and Bryson's like, no. All right, number 4, go ahead and read this one for us, Bryson. Loan shark.
Mr. Phillips bought a car that cost $2,768, including interest. If you paid $3,000 down and agreed to amortize the balance over the next 6 years, what will his monthly payment be?
All right, so car costs $27,768. That's taxes and interest. That's everything. Okay, that's how much the car is going to cost. Right up front, class, he pays $3,000, class. That's called his down payment. The amount you pay up front on a large purchase, class, is called the down payment. Okay, so he pays $3,000 up front. So how much does he still owe on this vehicle? Jalen?
$24,000. No. $24,100. No. Ugh. I can't speak.
Corey, help her. She's tongue-tied.
$24,768.
There we go. $24,768. Is that what you were trying to say, Jalen?
Yeah.
All right. How many got that number? We all understand how the down payment works. This is the deal. This does not have to be financed. This is already paid. This is what has to be financed. We good? Now, every month, this guy, Mr. Phillips, pays a little bit toward it. And the next month, a little bit toward it. And the next month, a little bit toward it. How many months does he have to make payments, Bryson? Well, in 1 year he makes 12, but I said he's going to amortize the balance for how many years? 6 years. So how many months is that? For 72 months, he's going to be paying and paying and paying and paying toward this amount. So, how much should he pay? Find it at your seats. How much should he pay every month? What should his monthly payment be? If he has to pay this much off over 6 years or 72 months. What do we have to do? Class?
Divide by
Divide.
72.
Divide by 72. Oh, if you multiply by 72, you're saying he's paying like millions every month to pay off 24 grand. That's a bummer. No. Divide by 72. This is the total amount he has to pay off, and he's going to do it over 72 months. Divide by 72. Bryson, how much is he going to have to pay every month? How many got $344? That's his monthly payment. All right, questions on that. Questions on how to find a monthly payment. Again, the key here was you don't start with this number and divide by 72, right? This is not what he's paying off over 72 months or 6 years. He paid $3,000 of it already. That's clear. This is how much gets paid off. So make sure we find after the down payment, divide by the months. How about number 5? Read number 5 for us. Let's see, has everyone read? Corey, I don't think you've read yet. Corey, read number 5 for us.
Mr. and Mrs. Rivers bought bedroom furniture with a list price of $1,570. They paid $400 down and made 12 monthly payments of $105. A. How much did they pay in all for the furniture? B. What was the finance charge for the
Amortized?
amortized loan?
All right, by the way, again, finance charge is another name for what class?
Interest.
Interest. Okay, so at your seats, you do this one. Do both parts. Find out how much they ended up actually paying for the furniture, and then figure out how much was the finance charge that they ended up paying. At your seats, find both answers. Ben, you've got it. Joel's got it. Elaine's got it. Good job, row 1. Is that a question or you got it back there, Jalen?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. The calculator's doing strange things.
I think I got it.
We think we got it. Okay, Michael looks like he's got it now. All right. But people still working. What should we do first? What should we do first here? Corey?
Subtract 400 from $1,170.
That you certainly could. There's 2 ways to start off the problem. There's nothing wrong with that because that's kind of a logical thing, right? They pay the down payment. That means the only amount they're actually owing is what?
$1,170.
They're only owing $1,170, right? But how much do they pay over the next year?
About $1,260.
Yeah, they end up paying $1,260. Now, tell the class, how did you get the $1,260?
I multiplied 12 by $105.
Right, monthly payments of $105 for the furniture times 12 months. So they pay $1,260. They should have only paid $1,170. Now, if you do it the way Corey did, you could actually get part B before you answer part A. If they paid this much and they really only owed this much, Corey, what's the finance charge?
$70.
Ooh, careful on your subtraction. Type it in again. $90. How many got for part B a $90 finance charge? They paid $90 more than they actually owed. That's money that the furniture company makes, in addition, of course, making profit off the sale. Now, the question, though, the first question said, how much did they pay in all for the furniture? Corey, how did you find part A's answer?
I just subtracted
What did they pay in all for the furniture? Because they made 2 kinds of payments, didn't they? What were their 2 kinds of payments, Corey?
$400.
They paid the $400 down payment, and they made the
$1,260.
The monthly payments, right? They paid both of those. They made monthly payments and the down payment. So to find out how much they paid in all, oh, go back to like elementary school. You learned that in all means what? Add, yes. So we're going to add them together. How much did they pay total, class?
$1,660.
$1,660. Now, that's one way to approach the problem. Did anyone say I approached it a little bit differently? What I did was I went ahead and found this number first. Before I did anything else, I said, well, 12 payments of $105 a piece, that's $1,260, right? Plus, there was a $400 down payment. So I got part A first. Then I said, well, they paid $1,660. It was only supposed to cost $1,570. They paid a $90 finance charge. Both methods work. It's up to you. You just have to think through the problem till you've got all the answers. How many got both part A and part B correct? Got both answers. How many got one of them right and missed the other? Are there questions at all on amortized loans? Now tomorrow, we're going to look at page 21. Just want to kind of preview this for you. When you buy a house, I still remember when we bought our house, we got this big old page that listed what's called an amortization table. And it listed, we were financing our house for 30 years. How many months is that, class?
A lot.
A lot. How many? Come on.
360.
360. There we go. You can do that without a calculator. Third D, hang the 0 times 12, right? 360. There were 360 lines on the chart listing every month how much we were going to pay. How much of it went toward the principal, how much went toward the interest. And they showed how the principal got bigger, 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 and the interest got smaller, smaller, smaller by the end. Okay, we're not going to put together quite that detailed of an amortization table, but with an amortization table, what we're going to be able to see is how the interest gets smaller month by month. So we're going to look tomorrow at this piano that gets purchased. And $1,000 down, it says. So how much gets financed, class?
$1,000.
Well, if $1,000 down, it's a $5,000 piano, $1,000 down payment, how much do you finance?
$4,000.
$4,000. If there's an installment loan, you're using installment buying or an amortization loan to finance $4,000. And you'll work through tomorrow. We'll go through the chart together, find the interest each month. How much is the balance plus the interest? How much does he pay? Okay, how much is left now? And we'll just kind of work our way through the table to see how the interest every month gets less and less and less because we're paying down the principal. So we'll work on all of that more tomorrow. No homework this evening other than study over terms, okay? Especially if you know you've been missing terms on quizzes because there is a test coming. Not for, another week and a half or so, but there is a test coming in which you will need to know your terms. So take some time. Study over terms, things that you've highlighted, bold terms that I've given you. Make sure you're ready with those. But no written homework tonight. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And when the bell rings, you'll be dismissed.